Toba supervolcano eruption. Around 74,000 years ago, Mount Toba in Sumatra erupted in what scientists call a super eruption. The explosion ejected approximately 672 cubic miles of material into the atmosphere, roughly 100 times larger than the 1980 Mount St. Helens eruption. Within hours, volcanic ash began falling across South and Southeast Asia. Ash deposits up to 15 feet thick covered parts of India over 3,000 miles away. The ash cloud spread globally within weeks, blocking sunlight across the planet. Temperatures dropped by 5 to 9 degrees Fahrenheit globally, with some regions experiencing drops of up to 27 degrees. In certain areas, the temperature decline was even more severe. This volcanic winter lasted for years, possibly decades. Plant life died off across vast regions. Food chains collapsed. Animals that survived the initial ashfall faced starvation. Early human populations, already small and scattered, were devastated. Genetic evidence suggests humanity went through a population bottleneck, dropping to between 3,000 and 10,000 individuals worldwide. Some researchers argue it could have been even lower. That's fewer people than attend a typical high school. These survivors were spread across Africa and possibly small pockets in Asia. For thousands of years afterward, human population remained extremely low. The genetic diversity in modern humans reflects this near extinction. All living humans today can trace their ancestry back to this small group of survivors. Ice Age bottleneck. Between 190,000 and 130,000 years ago, Earth entered a severe glacial period that lasted tens of thousands of years. This wasn't a single catastrophe, but a prolonged period of extreme climate instability. Ice sheets expanded across the northern hemisphere, covering vast areas that are temperate today. Sea levels dropped by over 300 feet as water became locked in glaciers. Coastal areas that early humans inhabited became frozen tundra or disappeared entirely. In Africa, where most humans lived, conditions became increasingly harsh. Rainfall decreased dramatically. Lakes and rivers dried up. The Sahara Desert expanded. Forests turned to grasslands, then to barren desert. Archaeological evidence shows that many human habitation sites were abandoned during this period. Genetic studies of modern humans reveal something remarkable. By analyzing mitochondrial DNA, scientists discovered that all living humans descend from a population that existed around 150,000 years ago. The genetic diversity suggests the total population may have dropped to as few as 600 breeding individuals. That's the entire human species reduced to what would fit in a few apartment buildings. This population crash lasted for roughly 60,000 years. During this time, humans clung to survival in small, isolated groups, most likely in scattered refuges across Africa, where conditions remained marginally livable. Climate data shows temperatures fluctuated wildly during this period, making adaptation nearly impossible. Any group that moved to exploit new resources risked encountering conditions that could wipe them out. When conditions finally improved around 130,000 years ago, human populations began to recover. But for those 60,000 years, humanity existed on the knife's edge of extinction. Younger Dryas impact. Around 12,800 years ago, something struck Earth. Evidence points to either a comet fragment or asteroid impact across North America. Within decades, global temperatures plummeted. In Greenland, ice core data shows temperatures dropped by 27 degrees Fahrenheit in less than a decade. Across North America, evidence suggests widespread fires. A layer of carbon-rich sediment marks massive burning across the continent. Nanodiamonds found in this layer suggest extreme heat and pressure consistent with an impact. Large animal species that had survived the Ice Age suddenly went extinct. Woolly mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, giant ground sloths, and dozens of other megafauna disappeared. In North America alone, 35 genera of large mammals went extinct. The Clovis culture vanished from the archaeological record. Their distinctive stone tools disappear at the same layer where the impact evidence appears. Human populations across North America crashed. Sites that had been continuously occupied were abandoned. The cold period lasted approximately 1,200 years. Agriculture was disrupted. Early farming communities struggled as crops failed. When temperatures finally began rising again, around 11,600 years ago, human civilization could restart, but the impact had reset human progress. The Black Death. In October 1347, 12 Genoese trading ships docked at Messina, Sicily. Most sailors aboard were dead or dying, covered in black boils. Sicilian authorities ordered the ships out, but it was too late. Within days, people in Messina fell ill. The Black Death had arrived in Europe. The plague spread with horrifying speed. By early 1348, it reached mainland Italy. By June, Paris. By fall, London. By 1349, Ireland, Scotland, and Scandinavia. By 1351, Russia. No region was spared. Victims developed fever, chills, and buboes, swollen lymph nodes that turned black. Most died within 3 to 5 days. Some developed the pneumonic form, killing within 24 hours. In cities, 50 to 60% of the population died. Florence lost 75,000 of its 100,000 inhabitants. Venice lost 60%. England lost between 30 and 45%. France lost roughly 40%. Italy lost 50 to 60%. The Middle East suffered similar casualties. In total, the Black Death killed an estimated 75 to 200 million people worldwide. Europe's population dropped from approximately 75 million to 50 million. It would not return to pre-plague levels for over 200 years. The social order collapsed. Mass graves filled with bodies. Priests and doctors died. Fields went unplowed. Crops rotted. Trade stopped. The economic system broke down. The feudal system began to crumble. The plague returned in waves for the next 400 years. Cuban Missile Crisis. On October 16, 1962, President Kennedy was shown reconnaissance photographs of Soviet nuclear missile sites under construction in Cuba. The missiles could reach most of the United States. Military advisors urged immediate airstrikes and invasion. What they didn't know was that Soviet forces in Cuba had tactical nuclear weapons and authorization to use them if invaded. If Kennedy had ordered the invasion, American troops would have been hit with nuclear weapons, triggering full-scale nuclear war. Kennedy chose a naval blockade. On October 24th, Soviet ships carrying missiles approached the quarantine line. At the last moment, Soviet ships stopped or turned around. But on October 27th, a Soviet submarine, B-59, was detected near the blockade. U.S. destroyers dropped practice depth charges to force it to surface. The submarine had been underwater for days, out of contact with Moscow. The captain thought war had started. B-59 was armed with a nuclear torpedo. Soviet protocol required 3 officers to agree to launch. The captain and political officer wanted to fire. The second in command, Vasily Arkhipov, refused. If Arkhipov had agreed, the nuclear torpedo would have destroyed American ships. The U.S. would have assumed war had started. The response would have been total. Archipov's decision may have saved the world. On October 28th, the crisis ended. The Soviets removed missiles from Cuba. Years later, historians learned how close it had come. Multiple incidents during those 13 days could have triggered nuclear war. Modern extinction threats. In the 21st century, humanity faces extinction threats both ancient and new. Supervolcanoes like Yellowstone remain active. An eruption would eject over 240 cubic miles of material, causing a volcanic winter similar to Toba. Crops would fail globally. Billions would face starvation. Asteroids pose a similar threat. A 6-mile-wide asteroid would cause mass extinction. NASA tracks near-Earth objects, but smaller asteroids can arrive with little warning. Climate change represents a slower threat. Global temperatures have risen approximately 2 degrees Fahrenheit since pre-industrial times. If temperatures rise 5 to 7 degrees, large portions of the tropics could become uninhabitable. Billions would need to relocate. Resource conflicts could trigger wars. Worst-case scenarios involve feedback loops accelerating warming. Artificial intelligence presents a unique risk. AI could potentially surpass human intelligence. Researchers warn that advanced AI systems could pursue goals misaligned with human survival. A 2022 survey found over 50% of AI researchers believe there's a 10% or greater chance that advanced AI leads to human extinction. Bioweapons represent perhaps the most immediate threat. COVID-19 killed millions and came from natural origins. Engineered pathogens could be far deadlier. Advances in synthetic biology have made it possible to modify viruses to increase transmissibility and lethality. A deliberately engineered pandemic could kill billions. Nuclear war remains a threat. 9 countries possess approximately 13,000 nuclear warheads. A full-scale exchange would kill hundreds of millions immediately. The resulting nuclear winter would block sunlight, causing global temperatures to drop. Agriculture would collapse. Billions would starve. What makes modern threats uniquely dangerous is their interconnection with human technology. The same technologies that could save humanity could destroy it. For the first time in history, humanity possesses the power to cause its own extinction. Previous near extinctions came from external forces. Now, the threat is us. Whether humanity survives the next century depends on choices being made right now. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for similar ones and feel free to drop suggestions for the next video in the comments.